people talk about the fact that we're making a difference in people's lives, but the values about integrity, giving back, being a good corporate citizen are things that really were written in 1886 and have continued to evolve. And so people, when you talk to people, we just recently did a culture survey, and you know, we're in challenging times. And what was striking was that 85% of people still feel really strongly engaged. They feel that what they do each and every day matters, because when you try, and I found this, you could never imagine it coming in, but when I travel and I spend time, particularly with women in Philippines or South Africa or Turkey, and they talk about the fact that they can send their child to school or they can buy a car that they would not have had, it really sends home a strong message. And a little bit different in the United States today, but that people recognize that, and that really is why people come to work every day, and even during challenging times and rough decisions that we have to make, people get that there's a greater cause.
So I think if you think about paying it forward, by paying it forward, I mean I am hugely fortunate, and anybody who has been successful, anybody who who has anything to share, should be thinking about, how do I reinvest my success? How do I reinvest what I've learned? And my thinking on that, and it's a strongly held value, and I wish that I had realized this earlier in my career, because a lot of the time you're spending your time just focused on your family, getting to work, getting it all sorted. And I kind of woke up to this when I was about late 40s, early 50s, and realized, hey, there aren't enough LGBT, women, different people. And the problem with not having different people is that you will be tempted down the path of making similar decisions on a constant basis. So I think that if you pay it forward, reinvest your success, help bring different people through the organization that you work for, and actually not just your own organization, but networking outwards, then what starts to happen is you get different views. That leads to innovation. The first thing is, and I'm going to say this up front because I think people forget this, there is nothing wrong with being profitable. In fact, if you're not profitable, you can't invest in all of the stuff that's going on in the room today. That's the first thing.
100%.
But the aha moment for me was at least 10 years ago, when our then group chief executive put down, because we do our strategy in 5-year slugs, and put down the new strategy, and the first line of the strategy said, making a profit is no longer enough.
Once people are feeling bad, I say, go out in the field. Spend time in the field and understand it. The people that are packing boxes in our distribution centers, have the representatives come in. And in R&D, have the representatives come in and talk about what's working, what isn't working. And people will send me letters and say, oh my goodness, I now know why it's important that we do this.
We only exist to connect our customers. And incidentally, while we're on the subject, what we're trying to do for our customers is help them realize their hopes and ambitions. And if you lose sight of that, particularly as a bank, and I suspect in the crisis particularly, a few banks did lose sight of that, then you've lost sight of everything, because banks facilitate. I don't make anything. I help other people who make things, and I help them sell them to other people. And in our case, we are particularly about internationality, which means that if we don't get diversity right and we don't get those connections right, then we're in serious trouble.
Always make sure that I'm focused on the representative, and I question myself, is this good for the representative? Is this going to help her build her business? And therefore we'll build our business. So there are times where I get pulled into things and I say, I'm not adding value there. There are other people that can do that. Yeah. Let other people do that. I mean, that's how I am with my house and my kids, and I've been that way for years. It's where do I add value, where do I don't add value? And I have to force myself from not letting myself get pulled into something and say, is this really the best thing for the business? I have multiple constituencies, representatives, shareholders, associates. My time should be spent where I can add the most value. And I had to learn to say no over the years, and I say no much better and much more politely than I used to, but I do say no more today.
Focus, focus, focus. You cannot get everything done. So what is the important thing? When in doubt, what's the right thing? Because if you do that first, you don't spend 3 hours sitting there saying, oh my God, oh my God. You actually say, okay, this is the right thing to do. It might be hard, but it's the right thing to do.
We've used words like collaboration, integration with company strategy, know your business. There's plenty of places inside a company where there is real competition. real competition for resources maybe, real competition for time and attention, real competition for are we going to do strategy A or strategy B? You are not in the internal competition business. I know sometimes you think you are because you're like waiting for money to come. We're competing with somebody. You're not in the internal competition business. You are in the leverage business. Every dollar you spend can be, should be, leverage dollars that positively impact absolutely everybody. So don't think about yourself or position yourself as competing for someone else's money, someone else's resources, someone else's slice of the CEO's mind. Think of yourself as a multiplier, somebody who leverages the assets of your business for everyone's benefit. Because that's what great corporate social responsibility is about. Finding and retaining great employees is hard, so you want employees to feel good about where they work. But in my experience, truly, and I think David would agree with this, people want to work somewhere they're proud of. It's human nature. People want to go to work every day and have meaning in their work. And so if you can provide meaning and positive reinforcement, and they feel good and proud about where they work, absolutely it makes a difference.
If you have a spill, or a strike, or a lockout, or a performance issued by an individual, you want people to understand that you're a living, breathing enterprise with values, and that these values may get breached because you're dealing with humans and other things, but nevertheless the values are there. You got to understand the business and your value proposition to the other lines. You know, I mean, the CEO should not think he's dealing with the do-gooder. He's dealing with somebody who's vitally interested in the success of the enterprise, understands the importance of the role and its interrelationship to the other, even if the CEO doesn't. And that's the kind of tough talk that CEOs like to hear.